Hello everybody, I'm back to playing Zoo, so it's time for another Zoo video. Didn't do it for a few weeks. Okay, so this is updated list. The list I think it's best in the current meta game, and I'm back to my original list I brought after Dominaria release with two Remand main and one Jomakas command main, one on the sideboard. Um, just a slight difference from that first of my original list is just a few lands have changed in the meantime and slight changes on the sideboard. I put one dispute in um, and kept the Hushbringers in. Hushbringers uh, have been moderately useful, but uh, some of the hardest matchups have been some iterations of four color control with ephemerate and solitudes, fury, stuff like that. So definitely every aggro deck suffers from those. We have some solutions for it, the removal, stubborn denials, remands, and stuff like that. But Hashbringer really can help in those matchups. So I left them in. Also, one dispute in, as I think it will be good in the current metagame where people are really experimenting with a large number of four color, five color control, like four color Bring to Light deck that recently did well in the challenge. Or Modern Last Chance, what was it called, whatever. And the Shape a New deck is also popular. It's also great there. Again, it's good against all of my decks, so I'll definitely think about putting the second Dispute on the sideboard. And in the future, I just have to follow the changes in the metagame. For now, I like it like this. All this I'm saying is about metagame on MTG Online. Yeah, so um, it changes there very quickly, and we have to keep the list updated so it keeps performing well in leagues and in paper, of course. Paper just follows it, but a bit slower. Okay, so I had recently another 5-0 league with a deck, and we'll just go quickly through all the games, comment on them, uh, and this is the first game playing first, so I kept a very nice 6 cards. Ragavan, Kavu, Scion, Bolt, so very decent. I actually just need the third land, and the hand is very close to perfect. I didn't get it. I tried to discard my Scion to get third land. I was playing against Yeskai or maybe uh, Izet Breach. They didn't have the breach. So I had some removals in hand, and I succeeded to find the third land. I had to get rid of the Scions and some Leyland Binding to do it, but I did do it, so I was in a pretty good situation. And now, two cows on the field, some burn spells in hand, and I had two loot options before attack, so I had the ability to dig a bit for another removal, and I did immediately draw the Leyline Binding, and that was lethal. My opponent immediately conceded. That was game one. So game two. Game 2, I removed some of the Ragavans, some of the Nishobas, some of the Nakatals, so just removed a lot of one mana creatures to get Hiratsugu in, and in most situations when I get Hiratsugu in, I take two Ragavans, two Nakatals out. My opponent goes for third path Iconoclast. I definitely have to kill this guy quickly. He's very hard to deal with in this matchup. Unfortunately, I just drew all the lands, so I didn't really have anything. It was too early to play my Hiratsugu. It was my only way out at the current situation. So I was just hoping that Hiratsugu will be enough of blowout to immediately win the game and try to win a game quickly after resolving the Hiratsugu. My opponent did make tokens, which is good for my Hiratsugu, but my drops didn't serve me well. Till this point, I did get the Kavu. It was the first creature I drew. 47 cards in the library, by the way. But it was at I played Kavu at the moment. My opponent just got the Delirium, so it wasn't the best play. But I just kept drawing lands, and I run out of the cards in the hand. And this is the part of the game where my opponent can easily grind me out with these Urza Sagas, expressive iterations, and stuff like that. So I'm still, it's a decent situation. Too many lands on the field, yes, but two good creatures on the field, one counter spell in hand. It's not the like impossible situation. I try to go for the stubborn here, but my opponent has the removal for Giganta, which means they get to resolve. I had to try to just get rid of that card. I dashed the Ragavan, so I really wanted to trade with this construct token here. So I get the 3 damage in and get counter on my Hiratsugu. I flipped Hiratsugu, but I was just in a very bad situation at this point, so I just conceded after drawing another land. And that was it, game 2 in match 1, and we'll now see game 3 in match 1, which was definitely a better hand. I had the Nakatal turn 1, Nakatal Bolt turn 2, so a pretty aggressive start. My opponent gets rid of the first Nakatal, so I play two creatures again on turn 2. I decide to go immediately for Giganta hand, just attack with my Nakatal. My opponent didn't have anything to play with Emery, so I didn't want to kill him just yet. When he played Bubble, of course, I bought the Emery. And I was again in a problematic situation because my opponent killed a few of my creatures. I didn't find another creature or maybe land to cast Giganta, but I did find a Rest in Peace. It can definitely help a lot. Some of their cards become much worse, like Unholy Heat, Underworld Breach, Grinding Station, large number of cards really. So I did get another Ragavan here. So I was able to kill their token and get 2 damage through. So I got my treasure token, which enabled me to cast the Giganta if I want next turn. I immediately removed the iconoclast. It's a really card that can't survive long against me because I'll definitely lose to that card. It can block my creatures really well, unless of course I have the Scion. My opponent plays the Otavara, but I'm able to get both Scion and Dragaman on the field with Leyline Binding in the hand. My opponent is forced to crack those Mishra Bubbles. I decide to block the construct. My opponent goes for heat before combat, and I'm able to kill their token and save my Scion, which was definitely huge for me. And my Ragavan had first strike at this point, so it's much better than just the usual Ragavan. Ragavan with first strike is can be pretty crazy. And that's it. My opponent couldn't handle all these first strike trample guys plus Scion in the air, and that was match one. It wasn't the easiest match, but I succeeded to get that win. Okay, so match two, playing second, I had kind of a decent hand, definitely depending on the matchup. My opponent played the blue black Asmo food combo, Asmo turns. Is it called like that? Something like that, definitely. So my hand wasn't very good for that matchup. I definitely want more removals and less counters in this matchup. I didn't. It's one of the rare situations when I can't attack with my Nakata on turn 2. So, fortunately, I'm able to start attacking with Kau. So, I just keep a removal for my opponent's very large construct token. My opponent goes for Emery. Doesn't attack. I have a first strike on my Kavu, so it potentially can do bolt can be very good. I can attack with my Kavu safely and kill the construct with the first strike. So I'm also able to get 3 damage, few damage through, 2 damage, sorry. And my opponent jumped the Scion with the Shredder. They were able to replay some of the cards with Emery, played 2 manufacturers, but they didn't find, I guess, the turns, what they were searching or whatever, and that was the game. I have a feeling my opponent maybe could have played something differently. I don't know what they had in hand, but it didn't feel like they played crazy good. I had the Scion and a lot of 2 drops in hand, but I decided to start with Ragavan. My opponent played the Bone Shards, discarded the island to kill my Ragavan, played the Asmo. Asmo was kind of problematic. I had a Hitsugu in hand, but I didn't have the. I wasn't sure when I would draw my third land, so I decided to play Leyland Binding on the cookbook immediately before it's too late. I wanted to just wait on the Hiretsugu for next turn after they resolve the Ursaga ability and make their tokens, so I can kill everything next turn and hopefully trying to survive this one more turn. I go for Hiretsugu next turn, of course. My opponent just gains some life and I kill everything they have and have lethal on the board for the next turn unless they do something. I had the flames in hand, so definitely definitely they're not able to survive this, and that was match 2 and very quick games against Asmo turns. Okay, so it's time for the match 3. Again, I'm playing second. I had to mulligan to, so it's the main most important thing is to mulligan to uh, when you have 4 mana, 4 land types on turn 2. That's like definitely most important in this matchup. I had 2 Ragavans, so I decided to trade my first Ragavan here, just play the second. I hold the bolt for next turn to try to connect my Ragavan. Stubborn Denial and Remand is very weak here with my opponent playing spirits and just Stubborn Denial doesn't do anything. Remand also. Luckily, I draw Territorial Cabal, so um, I can shuffle. I can discard some of these cards and draw another card, which is hopefully more useful. I didn't want to attack with Dragavan, so I didn't want to trade with the Spirit token. I also didn't want to play my land. I decided to take the Ether Vial, so they can't make more land count tokens plus do another tricks. I decided to cycle my remand, find a valuable removal for the Dragon Skull Captain. My opponent didn't have much. I decided to trade the Ragavan here for Wanderer. Then I go for Giganta Hand. No point in leaving Bolt for the next turn. So I decide to cycle the land. In this occasion, my opponent has the ability to make token and jump. So they go for the Spectre Sailor, the last card in hand, and I let them jump it. I finally find the sign of Draco, which is like definitely what I want in this situation, giving my territorial cow trample, and I'm able to just cycle my Giganta into another territorial cow, and that was game over for my opponent. So the Ragavan and the Kavu definitely got there in the end with, let's say, a weaker starting hand. I kept the remands in. I didn't really have a better card to put in instead. I replaced the Stubborn Denials and I had to leave the remand in. I also uh, left some of the cards out that could be useful, but the remand can cycle itself. It can be useful if they don't have the cover. But Ragavan is also definitely weaker on the play in these situations where they have the Supreme Phantom or Ether Vial. So they're just I decided to to board out a few of those creatures because I got my Hiretsugu in. My Hiretsugu can be useful on the draw to destroy their Ether Vials, which can be really, in some situations, a main concern. And you can see that obviously in this situation, Hiretsugu would definitely be useful. Um, my opponent tries to raise me, but I fail here. My opponent has one card in hand, and it was Spell Queller. I should have just played Hushbringer first and killed them immediately, but they were in a bad situation nevertheless, and had to kill this Hushbringer to not die next turn. So I just play the fairy, draw into bolt, play the leyline binding, kill all the blockers, and then just finish them off with my creatures. That was game 2. Very quick 2 games against the spirits. Then it's time for the match 4. Match 4 played finally first. I kept decent, very decent hand. Nakatal turn 1, turn 2 Brawler, then turn 3 Remand, Flames. It's a very pretty decent hand. I played, decided to attack with Nakatal, try to be as aggressive as possible. They didn't have a removal for Brawler, so they weren't able to connect their Ragavan. I attack with both. It was the Murktide opponent. My opponent, I left the mana for the remand because obviously my opponent was planning to finish the Nishoba Brawler, but I saved my Nishoba. They killed it turn after, but I had the kill. I had the kill next turn. I also had a double kill. And yeah, that was it. A very quick turn for a kill with the Zoo. I remember that game 2 and against my Murktide opponent. I think I lost to Blood Moon. I think I could have played differently, maybe a bit better. My opponent didn't have the Blood Moon early, and I decided to not play my creature here into counterspell and then get Blood Moon on the field. So I just decided to fetch the planes, so I'm safer against Blood Moon. It's a bit worse against other spells, but Blood Moon is definitely a way they get you here, and unfortunately, due to my fetching of planes, I wasn't able to play my spells in the good fashion, and I was just open to those dress down blowouts. If I had the stubborn denial up in this situation, I would just counter the I would just counter that dress down, and then turn after I'll be able to counter the dress down again. So the fetching really got me at this game, and that was it. I couldn't do anything. My opponent had too much pressure on the field. So it was. I was in a pretty good situation at that point. Should have just played Scion and hold the stubborn denial turn before, then fetch differently, and save the stubborn denial again. I drew into more stubborn denials even later. It would be a lot better if I just got the steam vents or another blue source, whatever. But it is what it is. It ended up well for me. I was able to play my tap land, play the Leyline Binding on their Shredder, hold Stubborn Denial, attack for 4, but unfortunately my opponent had a Fury for the Scion, so my Stubborn Denials were kind of dead at the moment. Didn't have the white mana, but I did fetch the green basic to cast my Wagner Cartel. I should have probably just draw the card here because the chances of them getting the Delirium next turn and killing the Teferi sounded really large, but maybe that was a good thing because my opponent used their removal on Teferi and not the Nakatal, but they would probably use it on the Nakatal anyways. And my opponent did succeed here to go Ragavan into iteration, which was very good for them. I found my second. Basic here, so I'm able to play my Giganta, be pretty safe from the Blood Moon, and try to make these stubborn denials more useful with the Giganta on the field. Unfortunately, my opponent again bounces the Giganta, so I kind of had to play it because my stubborn denials are pretty dead without it. Uh, they played both of their channelers. They played Blood Moon. I just killed one of the channelers and forced them to jump with the Ragavan, putting them on 5 life with just one card in hand. And but they did have a solution to survive, and try to raise me, but I did top deck the Tribal Flames and won that race, and that was the Murktide opponent. And the last game was against that mentioned 5-color Omnath pile with Bring to Light and Scape Shift. One off. I started with mediocre hand, Wagner Cattle, Kavu, but had decent draws. In this situation, you always hope for Kavu to loot away a few of your lands, but my Kavu immediately got killed with Leyland Binding. But my draws were decent. I got Scion into Tribal Flames, into Ragavan, and that was enough for me to finish this game. My opponent just played in a Cattle. I just played the Dryad, sorry, so which means they don't have much. At this point, I know what deck they're playing because I saw this list in on the Goldfish, and that was a quick game 1 third 5 kill against my Scape Shift opponent. Scape Shift is usually these Scape Shift decks are good match for the zoo. The Karuga elemental pile is slightly better against Zoo, but I just drew too much of these disputes, denials, remands, and didn't have the third land. If I had the third land, this would be okay, no problems. But I was just stuck on two lands, and I just wasn't able to make a good use out of my counter spells. So I tried to counter the dispute, but unfortunately didn't have my third land to counter this one, and they resolved the Omnath, which was then pretty hard for me to deal with, and they gained a lot of life here, played Bring to Light, Find the Soul of Windgrace, and at this moment I had to attack them, try to trade with Nishoba, but they had everything, and they had the immediate kill with their lands. So that was game two. I just needed third land to win that dispute battle there over the Omnath, and my opponent would again be in a pretty hard situation. Okay, I just kept okay hand with just one creature, but they don't play Bolt, so Nishaba Brawler is actually pretty good at threat here. I just play my Brawler here. I maybe should have let them tap my Brawler here and then just play the Teferi to counter the Search for Tomorrow. But I decided to hold the Stubborn Denial and counter the Fire Ice. Still not sure which was better, but resolving the Teferi there and countering the Search for Tomorrow, I think it would also be fine. My opponent tries to tap the Brawler again. Again, I go for the Stubborn Denial, attack them, put them on 6 life. I go for the Ragavan dash, hoping for my opponent to block the Ragavan and just finish them off with the Bolt. That was it. That was the last game. And that's it. That's the entire league. Just some classic matchups. You could see the Breach. You could see the Murktide, the Omnath Pile. Spirits, all the decks you usually see when playing in the MTGO leagues. Um, all of these are very popular except for spirits. They definitely fallen off lately, and I really think that in this meta game, Remand is very nice again. It's very good against these decks that play the big mana spells like this last one, they play. It's also good against Cascade decks. There are not so many Cascade decks currently. Like before, Living End definitely fallen off a lot. Um, uh, Rhinos are played definitely. Rhinos are played, probably more than Living End. So there is that, and Remand is also good in that Cascade matchup, but it's good in this matchup, like countering your opponent's Omnath, Soul of Windgrace, Bring to Light, it's just great. Scape Shift, countering um, all the Cascade spells, and then against the Murktide matchup, it helps by remanding the Murktide, the Blood Moon. It's also useful there too. And against the Creativity matchup is great. It's great against its best, definitely best card in the Yagmoth matchup. It definitely helps in the Yagmoth matchup. If you're dealing with a lot of Yagmoth, definitely play the remand, but it's very useful in a lot of others, as you could see in this league. And sometimes it saves your creature from the removal when they try to jump plus removal. And that's it. It was a pretty fun league to play. I hope you enjoyed it. You can support the channel by clicking the subscribe button and like button. And that's it for this time. That's it for this video. That's all until the next time. Okay, bye.